What's up, everybody? Joe Ringing here, coming back to you with a book review. Today, I'm going to review a book called, well, it's actually a collection of books, collection of stories, titled Jirel of Joiry. And this is a pretty good book, honestly. It's a little off the normal path of books I read in a certain way. I usually read fantasy, so that's normal, but this is a different type of fantasy. It's a very specific type of fantasy that I usually is not my jam, but it's good. It's and that being sword and sorcery. So think of things like Conan Barbarian, Elric, things like that, and then Drell of Jory. So I stumbled upon this from a YouTube video, and honestly, I'm glad I did. So I'm going to talk about Drill of Jory to all of you because I like to talk about books that maybe aren't super well known. I certainly didn't know about this book until I saw that YouTube video, and then give you my thoughts. Maybe you guys will go pick it up too. Before I jump into this, though, I just want to let you all know. Besides reading awesome books, I'm an author. I wrote a book. It's called The Ballad of Ages: Tale of Epic Fantasy. Check it out. It's on Amazon. All right, back to the show. Back to the topic at hand, Drill of Jory. First of all, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. That's just how it is in my head. So there you go. So take this with a grain of salt, and I'll talk about at the end the rating I give it. But I'm not super widely read in sword and sorcery. Again, I personally like sort of more dense books that have sort of subplots, a lot of different narratives and characters, and this really isn't that, and that's not a bad thing. That's just not what I normally lean towards. But I was looking, but when I read this, I was looking for sort of a quick read. I wanted something that was pretty easy. You could sort of pick up and put down, and this was perfect for that. Because it's actually a collection of a couple different stories. So Drill of Jory, I believe there's 5 stories. I don't remember them, so I'm going to look it up. Okay, the stories are called Black God's Kiss, Black God's Shadow, Drell Meets Magic, The Dark Land, and Hellsguard. Those are the name of the stories. So there's 5 stories about Drill of Jory. And so this is a collection by the author C.L. Moore. So a couple of interesting facts about this book, about these stories, before I talk about what they're about, because I want to set the stage a little bit, give some background. So these were written in like the 1930s. So when I kept that in my head as I read these, that really blew my mind, because these stories are really imaginative and unique. And so C.L. Moore wouldn't have been able to draw upon big Hollywood movies for inspiration, or video games, or a lot of books like Lord of the Rings and stuff. This all predates that. So that's very impressive. So way to go, C.L. Moore. This is very imaginative stuff. And it sort of feels like one of those 80s fantasy movies, like Conan, obviously, because a lot of those are sort of sword and sorcery type movies. But it has the charm of like the 80s fantasy movie. Obviously, Red Sonja. I would be shocked if Red Sonja was not directly inspired by these stories. Also with Conan too. I don't know the lore, so I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it feels a lot like kind of like Red Sonja. So C.L. Moore also is a female author, so that's really cool, and that makes sense. That's my guess why the main character, Jirel Jory, is a female, awesome kick butt warrior lady. So that's really cool. She was in a very like male dominated genre, and hey, like it feels just like any other book. So she did a very good job. And apparently she I briefly looked it up online, but I think she was like really good friends with the writer of Conan. oh gosh, what's his name again? Like Howard or uh-oh, I'm gonna get roasted online. But I'm pretty sure they were really good friends, so that's cool. That's a cool little Easter egg thing. C.L. Moore has other books or other characters and stories. I think one is called Northwest, and that's sort of like a sci-fi sword and sorcery type of story. Um, so honestly, I want to look up her other stories because these were really fun to read. They were very well done and very good, and just enjoyable for what they are. You know, the quick reads. These were originally published in that famous sort of sci-fi fantasy magazine, Weird Tales. I think that's what it was called, and which a lot of other ones were like Conan. So these are kind of like pulp stories, and so you know, because of that, they have to be quick to the point. Not a ton of words, and that's doubly impressive. How C.L. Moore is able to really describe, get her story across, paint the picture of the scenery, give good characterization to these characters with like very little words. That's super impressive. And it doesn't feel just like super abrupt, like, and then he said this, and then she said this, and then she killed this. Like, no, it's like it's got good prose. It's just efficient. That's what I like about it. It's efficient with its words. I discovered something about my reading preference while reading Joiry, actually. I used to think I mean, and I do. I love flowery prose, you know, really cool musical words and sort of over the top prose. And I realized, and so I'd always sort of go into shorter stories thinking, probably not going to like it. I realized that's not true. I realized because of C.L. Moore, so thank you, C.L. Moore. I realized I like efficient words. What do I mean by that? So I like purposeful words, words that are used for a purpose, not wasted, and very useful in some way. I think great. I think what I don't like is modern writing. That's super sad, and that's a broad brush, right? I'm sure there are good modern writers, and I know there are. I've read them, but overall, it seems like modern fantasy, specifically, I'm thinking kind of grimdark. Um, Although George Martin's pretty good, actually. He's good at he's a wordsmith. So besides him, it seems like a lot of sort of grimdark and just popular, um, you know, whatever you call it, popular fantasy these days are very. They've lost some of like the words. They've lost some of the craft. It's more just kind of like reading video games, and that sounds weird, but it's very like words aren't used for like a double purpose, or they're just kind of there. It's like reading an instruction manual. You know, it's just kind of blah. The stories are great, and there's cool stuff that happens, but it's just not there. Um, C.L. Moore, with little words, is able to not be sort of binary. She's very like she uses cool words, very proseful words, prosaic words. I don't know if that's the right. Now I'm dissing people for their word usage. I'm probably not even using the right words. That's funny, but you know what I mean. Um, I learned something. I'm reading the Poetic Edda right now, and I learned something about this is totally off topic. So sorry, guys, but it's kind of related. So Old Norse language had a word, a term called kenning, and that's awesome. How and what it is it's like using words to describe something that doesn't make any sense. So, like for like an example, to describe an ocean, the poet would say, "Whale road." Whale road is an ocean. So instead of saying ocean, whale road. So that's kind of what I like is using different words to describe in different ways and leading the reader to a unique destination of the word. And C.L. Moore does that, and modern writers seem not to. All right, back to the topic at hand. Jirel of Joiry. They're cool stories. They're quick, they're fun, and it's sort of like Dante's Inferno, but like fantasy. more like hack and slash, Dante's Inferno. So the setting, I mean. So what happens a lot in the stories is Jirel. So Jirel is Joiry is her land. It's the name of like her land. In this world she lives in, there's like warrior kings and queens that sort of own their kingdoms and or run their kingdoms. They all have like castles. Hers is called Joiry. That's her kingdom, and so she's Jirel of Joiry. Now there's other ones throughout the world, and so she's always defending her kingdom or going and attacking other people, and just stuff like that. Pretty basics plots. But what's cool is the settings, the different characters, the different weapons. So a lot of times she ends up there's like this secret room in her castle or in somewhere by her castle, and she a lot of times ends up going in it, and it's sort of like a pathway or gateway to hell. And there's all these demons down there, and then she has to a lot of times goes down there and finds like this demon sword that is the only weapon that will kill this wizard guy, that's attacking her kingdom. So that's a lot of what the stories are, and it's very scenic. Like you can very imagine these things, and it's very unique. And oftentimes, what she's doing is getting revenge on like wizards or warriors that like or attacking her kingdom, but are also like trying to like have her be their bride, but she doesn't want to. And so yeah, so it's cool because she's like a really cool like I said, kick butt female warrior, and a lot like Red Sonja. And actually, what this reminded me of reading this is like if Mara Jade from Star Wars was in a Sword and Sorcery book, she would be Jirel. Like maybe Mara Jade was sort of based off Jirel Joiry. Maybe, I don't know. Kind of makes sense. They both have red hair. Like that's the thing. But anyway, so she's a cool character. Honestly, I'm surprised I haven't heard of Jirel of Joiry. Like it's not more mainstream, and there's no movies of it. I don't know why. Like there's Conan and a lot of other stuff, and this fits right into that world or that type of. It's not the same world, but those type of stories. There's really really cool, again, characters, races of beings like witches, wizards, like monsters, like big dog things, werewolves, stuff like that. And it's they're unique. So there's always some sort of obstacle Jirel has to overcome. A lot of times it's by getting a magical weapon and then defeating whatever antagonist is trying to defeat her. But they're unique situations. I'm not going to spoil them. My favorite story in this was the last one, Hell's Guard. There's sort of like these ghost people. Anyway, it's sort of like a scary story too, but it's not really scary, but there's like ghost soldiers and stuff. I won't spoil it. But this is very cool. If you want a quick, fun fantasy action read Jirel of Joiry. You won't go wrong. I ended up giving it a 7 of 10, which is a good score for me. The only reason I didn't give it higher is strictly based on my reading preference. And since it's my review, I can do that. So, if I will say this, if you are a fan, your favorite genre is sword and sorcery, you will give this a 10 out of 10. You will love this to death. This will go on your pantheon of story of books, and Sealmore will be top 3 author for you if you like sword and sorcery. I do like it. It's just not my favorite, so I can't give it a 10 out of 10 because then it would be, well, you get it. You get it. So 7 out of 10 is very good. I was very surprised how much I liked this. I honestly went into it thinking, it'll be forgettable, but it's something to read, I think it took me honestly probably 3 hours to read through the whole thing. And that's probably with rests to get up and go get coffee or something. Like I said, it's pretty quick. And it was on Kindle Unlimited, or it is on Kindle Unlimited. So that's another really awesome thing. You can't go wrong. You'll like it. It's cool. It's good stuff. If nothing else, there's unique situations that you read in this story that you never read in others. And so it's worth it just for that. And the scenery is very vivid. I still imagine her kingdom and the last story, the kind of the ghost people and stuff. That's still fresh in my mind. And I read this 2 weeks ago. So, or maybe it was 3 now. Yikes, I'm getting behind, man. I'm getting behind on my reviews. Too much piling up, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I got more reviews coming, but I wanted to get this one out to you guys because I think a lot of you will enjoy it. And it's a great, at least, entry point into fantasy if you're looking for that. And if you're looking for all the ladies out there, if you want like a really cool female kick butt heroine to root for and to call your favorite, this is it. Jirel is awesome. She's a cool character. But that's all for tonight. I'll be coming with more reviews, so stay tuned. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.